friends and lovers and all of the others. Here we are. Fix that camera. Another episode of Pod from the Bunker. Thank you for being here today. If you are watching this live on Twitch, as you might know, these all go up on my YouTube. If you could go over to the YouTube, hit like, subscribe, comment, ask our guests any questions you'd like to ask me any questions you'd like to ask. Actually, suggest guests. That would be awesome. All of my socials are coming up below me here. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can come check it out live on Twitch. I do this live on Twitch with musicians, creators, and streamers. So today we have a Twitch streamer who is a creator who is not exactly a musician, but he is a luthier and he makes beautiful guitars. He is a gentleman and a scholar. He is has a very soft and gentle, cool stream that I like to hang out in. So does lots of giveaways. His name is Mr. Hank Bud. I'm really looking forward to talking to him because he makes very exotic guitars. He knows his stuff, but as I understand it, he actually isn't a shredding guitar player. He just makes them. So it's very interesting. So let's bring him in right now and we'll have a little chat with Mr. Hank Bud from Twitch. If you want to follow him on Twitch, it is at Hank Bud, I believe. So let's get into it now. And here we are. What's up, my man? How are you today, Mr. Hank Bud?
I'm doing good. How are you, Kev?
I'm doing good, man. There's a wall behind you of just gorgeous guitars. Can you tell me how and when did you start making your first guitars?
Um, Actually, not too long ago, only about 3 years ago, I was brought into this shop by a luthier named Meredith Coloma, and she was starting a new kind of communal guitar shop, and I had known her years and years previous when I used to be a clarinet maker.
Oh,
So I spent 6.5 years making clarinets,
no way.
and yeah, that's what got me in to the musical instrument world, and I did that. I was on a lathe for 6 years, just making clarinets here in Vancouver, and that's where I met Meredith, and then she years later she was starting a new shop, and she needed someone to help kind of build it out and set it up. So she brought me in as the shop manager, and she had always been hassling me about building guitars, and I was just like, no, I don't want to build guitars. It's because I just know how much work it is. Like there's no when you do instrument building in a production setting in like a
Yeah,
small factory.
yeah,
Any sort of romantic ideas you have about custom instruments is kind of like the reality is like, oh, it's a lot of work.
yeah.
um, but so I was fighting it. I was like, no. And then one of her mentors, Michael Dunn, had just retired, and that's who she apprenticed under. And he came to the shop, and he just brought all this like ukulele materials, like just stuff that he's like, I'm not going to get to this stuff. I'm retiring. So he just cleared out his shop, and he had just piles and piles of like ukulele molds, ukulele wood. And so I was like, maybe I'll start building a ukulele. This might be fun. Like so I started doing that and just kind of puttering around with ukuleles, and and then Meredith was doing her guitars, and then she brought me in as once I did a few ukuleles, I was pretty good at carving wood, and so I was doing neck carves for Coloma guitars and helping her and Will, her business partner, do assemblies on their guitars, right? And so just kind of through osmosis of being in the shop, and I had, like I said, I had known Meredith for years, and she had done lots of classes, and I was just hanging out like all the time, watching people building guitars and stuff. So it was really weird when I did start to build guitars during the lockdown. I already knew how. I just did it, had never done it before, but I knew how to build a guitar just by being around it and seeing it. So I was like, oh, I think I can do this.
Right.
And then the lockdown happened, and there was this big shop, and there was nothing to do. So I started streaming my ukulele builds, And then it just kind of went from there. It just kind of snowballed. I just started streaming, doing ukuleles, and then people were like, "Hey, can you build a guitar?" And I was like, "Yeah, I totally can."
So Hank, can I ask you, all those guitars hanging behind you right now, if you're listening to this audio podcast, you can watch it on YouTube. It's going to be a good idea for you to watch it on YouTube because this is a visual podcast, not only audio. So all of those guitars hanging behind you, I see probably 2, 4, 6, there's about 8, 9 guitars there. You made them all over the pandemic.
Yeah. Actually, these were all made in the last year.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah, so I had a lot of time. And it's like, I can show what I did. This is what I did. If anybody wants to know what I was doing during the lockdown, I have something to show for it. And
very cool, dude.
It was all kind of like it's a very strange journey. I had never thought about doing electric guitars until I had a viewer on Twitch. It all kind of ties back into the Twitch stream.
Okay.
I probably would not have done it if I wasn't streaming. I was doing my ukuleles and people were coming on and being like, "Hey, cool, that looks neat." And then Hemel Audio, one of my viewers, was like, "Can you build an electric?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Can you build one for me? I would like to commission one." And I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah, I want your first guitar." And so I was like, he wanted a Hank Budd guitar.
Nice.
Right. And his only stipulation was he wanted it all maple. And so I was like, "Okay, let's do it." And it was a really neat process that everyone got to see on the stream. We selected the woods, we went over the woods we were going to do. So it's, when you get a commission, it's very collaborative in a way.
Yeah.
And there were certain things that he wanted, and then some things he's like, "Just do your thing." And then there was some stuff where I was like, "I really think we have to do this with it." And it turned out really well. And so I did some designs, and so it just kind of like started the prototyping, and just kind of got me down onto the prototyping stuff. And I had done prototyping and small run manufacturing before, so it was kind of just working out the process. And that's what I did this last year. Like behind me, these were just working out ideas, just trying to get ideas worked out. It's not that any of them are necessarily bad. It was just like, I can kind of show you I can show you the evolution,
right?
And you can kind of see it. So this one,
there goes the headphones.
I'm losing my headphones. Give me a second.
It's all good.
Here, let's. I don't know.
I hear you.
There we go.
Tangled always.
We're going there. There we go.
So this is an evolution from wood carving and lathing clarinets, and then you decided just for fun to do ukulele, and then you now got your Hank Budd guitar line, and these are how we started.
Yeah, so this one was my first of this model. It's obviously like a Telly. It's kind of halfway between a Telly and a Les Paul. I call it the Big River.
Okay.
After a town in northern Saskatchewan.
Okay.
Which is where I'm originally from. I'm not from Big River, but that area.
Yep.
Anyway, it's good. This was the first one, so that was the first idea, and then this is the latest one. So it's still the same shape, and you can kind of see the same. I was working through ideas, but it's like this is the final incarnation of
what I notice is you've got like a little beveled edge on that upgraded one, and you've got a semi-hollow F hole in it. Is that the two major sort of changes?
Yeah. So they're both walnut.
Yeah.
But that was the thing, was I found that it just the semi-hollow walnut, it really works. It really sounds good, and I find that this one just has a lot of really nice acoustic qualities. It's not an acoustic guitar, but it has those acoustic qualities. and it just has a really beautiful sound.
Well, there's argument,
And
Hank, that it doesn't matter what wood the guitar is on. If you're playing electric guitar, it matters mostly about the pickups. But what is your thought on that? Does it matter the resonance of the wood and the different types of wood? Does that make a big difference in your mind?
tone wood is definitely debatable.
Okay.
With electric guitars, most of the sound will be the pickups. But there are certain qualities
Okay.
that certain tone woods have.
Okay.
And it also depends on your style of play. So if you're distorting that, if you're doing like metal or something like that with really hot pickups, it's not going to matter.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
it's really like you could put that on a 2x4 and it'll probably make close to the same sound.
Okay.
There are like again, I can't. It's not a definitive thing. It's just there's certain qualities. That's as far as I would go. But with the semi hollows, you definitely get a resonance. You get acoustic qualities,
Okay.
which I find sound really, really good with the single coil Tele pickups
Okay.
or P90s.
Yes,
It
then-
sounds really, really nice. You get this really nice, kind of deep, warm resonance from it.
Well, when you're
And
using that
it's-
pickup, it's usually very high and very shrill, right? So bringing that deep and warmth sort of resonance, as you're mentioning, sort of would bring that down a little bit. Do you find? Is that the case?
Yeah, it would. It kind of depends on again pickups. Like if you want a really twangy telly, that would probably be more of the pickups. But it's I don't know. I was talking to this one luthier actually on Twitch, Jer2112, and he was saying that what he likes about the semi hollows is you can feel them. And it's like, so we were debating
Right,
this because it's
right,
like,
right,
it
right.
is the great debate, right?
I was going to mention that.
And-
It's like you definitely get something feeling in your rib cage or in your core of your body when you're playing that guitar, right?
Yeah, and what Jer was saying is he feels that enhances the performance because the player is connected to the guitar better.
Okay, that makes sense.
Like when you talk about the feel of a guitar, like you can literally feel it vibrating against you, and that connection can enhance a performance.
I would
That's
agree.
what he was saying.
So what
Yeah.
are some of the other major evolutions that you came across other than the hollow body, which is a huge one?
Yeah.
What are the two differences, the main big differences between these two guitars you're currently holding?
I didn't really reinvent the wheel, actually. Like that's another thing with guitar building. I can't say I've done anything really innovative because you're pretty much standing on the backs of giants.
Of course.
And the great thing is all the hard work has been done.
Well, it's the
for
same
you.
as
So,
same as music, right? Like you
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
reinvent the wheel. There's these certain types of music and there's certain tones and sounds, and you're just living beneath that, you know.
yeah. Yeah, I'm waiting for you to discover a new power chord, Kev. Once you discover that, it's
It's not happening, pal.
yeah, but that's the thing. So obviously, like this is very Fender inspired. I like Fender. They're very simple. They work. They're the. I took elements. I think for me, I'm not going to say like all boutique builders. Some people are doing more kind of radical stuff with their guitars and their shapes and things, but and their hardware and stuff. But for me, I feel like it's more of here. I'll just put this one back. So
Yeah.
second. So I find with this one, I took the elements that I like and updated a few things that I didn't like.
Okay.
And so one of the things I changed is this is a smaller body
Okay.
and it's thinner. So that was the two things about the Tele that I'm not a huge fan of. I find it kind of bulky and it doesn't need to be an inch and 3/4, you
Okay.
know, like it can be thinner than that. So this is about an inch and 1.6 inches. So
Okay.
it's not like, it doesn't seem like, oh, it's like that much, but that does make a difference. And then I do a beveled edge on it. And then I do, like you were saying, I do this chamfer kind of
Yeah.
arm bevel just to make it more comfortable.
So cool, man.
Right?
It looks great too. It adds this really extra element to it. It gives it another depth, right?
Yeah, it's just this little, like, it's a signature piece, but it's also functional. And I really like when something is aesthetic and functional at the
Right.
same time.
Yeah.
So it's the same with doing the chamber. I think the F hole looks cool,
Yep.
but it's also a functional thing to it. So it's one of those things. That's what I really like. And so one of the other things that I do that's functional and aesthetic is, instead of doing binding, you can see I laminate a piece of maple underneath the top, and then I bevel the edge, and it gives the same look as binding, that outline. Uh, but you don't have that hard edge that you get from binding, because like when I play, I always find that my arm hit, like, it's kind of rubbing against the side of it. So it's just a comfort thing. But then it's like, it also defines the shape of the guitar, and that's one of the things that I wanted to do, and that's what binding does, is it defines the shape.
It's like a stroke
And
on a font.
yeah, exactly. And so, if that's the funny thing about guitar shapes, like iconic guitar shapes, you can look at a silhouette and you recognize it. You just know what it is. So a guitar shape, like the silhouette of the guitar, is really important aesthetically. And there's all these factors that kind of go into, like, building an instrument. At the end of the day, this thing has to be a good instrument. First and foremost, it is an instrument. But there are certain aesthetic things, and you have to make something that, if this is hanging on the wall, somebody will want to grab it. So there is something to the look of a guitar
100%, I would
that is
agree.
important.
I never really
Like,
thought about that, but once I put myself in those shoes after you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, every time I go to the store, I'm like, oh, that's a cool finish. That's a cool, a color
yeah.
of hardware. So can I ask you a question about this model as well? You say it's sort of a cross between Gibson and a Fender. So it looks like you've done sort of like a 335 style F hole on there. And then you've got the rounded shoulder on the upper half there. So that kind of is your sort of Les Paul and your 335 on that sort of top half. And then on the bottom half is more the telly shape with the hardware and the pickups. Is that sort of your... It looks...
Yeah. So what's nice about this one is I can do a double humbucker in it as well, and I have some
Okay.
over here that are more. Uh, Here, I'll just grab this one. So I've got this one here, which, couple humbuckers. So this has a couple of bare knuckle painkillers. And so this one is more of like a standard, like, just double humbucker layout. It has a black walnut one-piece neck, which is really neat, black walnut body, and then this spalted maple. And
very
and it's
gorgeous.
yeah, this is a really nice one. This is like more of like a hard rock, metal kind of guitar. But again, it's the same body shape. It's just like I can do multiple configurations on it. That's what I
Amazing.
like about it, is
Yeah.
I can lay out what I want. I kind of prefer to do my own shapes as opposed to doing a standard Gibson or a standard Fender. I just prefer it. Some companies are more litigious. Is that the word, where they sue you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No, it's a good idea. It's a very good plan. But like, so
Yeah.
can I give you? I want you to show these things off with full screen because we're just chatting right now. So
Okay.
you're looking to sort of move a few of these guitars right now. You've just opened your store, and so I'm going to put you on full screen. I'm just going to let you pick up each one of these guitars and talk a little bit about each of them. So I'll give you 5 minutes on your own. So let me give you the full screen right now. Is that cool for you, Hank? And then, you just kind of take it away and sort of do what you would do I guess, in your own stream, just explaining each of your guitars.
Okay.
All right, man.
So,
Here it is. I'll put it over to main screen for you now.
okay, thanks.
Hank, I
Okay.
believe everyone can see you. I'm going to mute myself, and I'm just going to let you go ahead and take it away, dude.
Okay, so this is, like I was saying, spalted maple. This is a very interesting piece of wood. A lot of the guitars, Obviously I like the natural wood. I do have a few that are not natural and a little bit more flashy, but this is spalted maple from the coast of British Columbia. So this is a local piece of wood. This is just from the Sunshine Coast, I believe, and flamed. And like that's the thing for me. Something like this is just very, very unique. And again, black walnut body, and it is just a really, really solid instrument that also, looks pretty. But let me show you the showpiece one. I'll wow you with I'll just get right. Let's cut to the chase here. Uh, Let me show you what I've been working on for the last month. So this is my main showpiece. So basically, Hank Bud Guitars is launching this month, and this is what I kind of wanted as my showpiece. And so this is pressure dyed Buckeye Burl. So that is natural wood, but it's been dyed and filled with resin. But it looks like a painting. It looks like an impressionist painting, and that's why I chose it. I didn't make this top. I bought it from a company that does the custom tops for Kiesel guitars, but this was a very unique piece that it doesn't have a lot of resin in it, and that's what I liked. With a lot of these tops, you see them on a lot of heavy metal guitars. They have like the resin filled Buckeye Burl, and it's stained in like a loud color, and it's got like fluorescent resin running through it. What I liked about this one was that it was very, I wouldn't say subdued, but it's just like, it's more about the wood than it's more beautiful than cool is kind of what I described it as. Anyway, and I did a Padauk body on it. So that isn't dyed. That red is natural. That is Padauk wood. And then it has a maple neck, and then I scarfed a Padauk for the headstock as well. And then it has more burl for the head plate and I don't know if you can see it on the camera there, but bird's eye maple neck with Padauk binding and all chrome hardware. And it's got a Seymour Duncan antiquity pickups, hip shot bridge, hip shot tuners. This is, like I said, this was just gloss finish, polyurethane gloss finish. This was just for attention. This was like a showpiece, and it took a while, and there's a pretty big investment up front. But this one is for sale if people are interested. All these guitars are for sale. If anybody's interested, you can go to hankbudguitars.com and send me a message. I'm updating my website right now. It is not the most informative site right now. I have to make it more of an e-commerce type site instead of just kind of a landing page. But I'm working everything through right now. The main thing was getting the guitars done, and I have the guitars done. Now I'm like, oh, I have to figure out how to sell these things. But this is my showpiece one. So this was just to prove that I could do a custom shop level custom guitar kind of thing.
So Hank, can I ask you, are you taking commissions on your website as well? Because I'm sure there's going to be people who see this, and how do they go about commissions?
Contact me on just through the website, and we can talk. You can kind of tell me your idea. I can kind of give you a ballpark figure of what that would cost. Right now I have two models. This one is called the Roya. So this is my double cutaway kind of Strat model. The other one is the Big River. Roya is actually, it means dream. So it's a good name for a guitar. So if anybody is interested, I am taking commissions. And the nice thing, and it kind of ties into streaming as well. The commissions that I have done, people have been able to tune in and see their guitars being made and interact. So that's one of the kind of things that I've been doing, which I think is an interesting feature, because when commissioning a guitar is kind of a collaboration in a way. And as a boutique builder, you really have to engage with the client. They have to feel like they're part of the process. They really want to be part of the process. And I think streaming is a really good way to bring the client into the process where they can actually see me carve the neck and do all the things and see it all being made instead of just getting like photo updates here and there. So that's another thing.
Hank, can I ask you to grab the one with the bolt inlay on it? The bull skull inlay
yes.
on it? Yeah, just
Sure.
to show off some of your inlay skills and some of those multi-level layers of wood there and stuff.
Yeah. So this one, I think this one has to go to Texas. This one.
Or it can go to Toronto, like, hello.
Yeah. It's,
I would love to have that guitar. That is.
Would you rock that,
dude?
Kev?
That is so cool, man.
so this was I got it in my head. I was like, I need to do inlays. There's this wide open spot on the guitars and they need inlays. And so I did this cow skull inlay on there. And this is actually a really good sounding telly. This is probably my most it's very country sounding.
Well, I was going to ask you about that too. I'm just going to leave you on full screen and talk because you're showing
Okay.
all the good stuff. But basically, when you're building these guitars, do you try to make a honky tonk guitar and a metal guitar and a whatever guitar? Or and when someone commissions you, they tell you a certain tone. Do you know where to go with that, or you just go with what they tell you?
I'll go with what the client wants. If I'm working with a musician, now that I've built enough, that was one of the things that when I talk about working out ideas, it was also working with different woods and seeing what I get out of those different woods, right?
Of course.
And so this was an interesting kind of thing that happened was that it again sometimes you just don't know what voice the instrument is going to have until it's done. Obviously tellies have the telly sound, but this one is a one-piece mahogany. Look at this body.
Beautiful.
One-piece mahogany, Kaya mahogany.
Gorgeous.
So with a flame maple neck. And so this mahogany was really heavy. This was an offcut from another project in the shop. So like I didn't have any idea what I was really doing with this one. There was just this chunk of mahogany that was just big enough for a guitar body. And it was gorgeous looking, but it was super heavy.
Yeah.
So I had to chamber quite a bit out of it. When we're talking about semi-hollows, it's not like a full hollow. There's a strip of wood, solid wood down the middle, and then two chambers on either side. And then I take another two little chambers down the middle, but I leave a strip right down the middle, like a thin strip that then kind of goes out and gets thicker right here because that's where your strap button's going, right? So you need a little bit of support right there. So this one is heavily chambered. And it just sounds, for whatever reason, it just has the sound
man.
that you would want out of a telly. Like if you want just like a classic telly
Do you have a
sound.
price on that one? What is that one worth, just to give us an idea in Canadian dollars?
In Canadian dollars, I'm selling this one for about $24.50.
Beautiful, dude. I mean, worth
Yeah.
every penny. That's basically a custom guitar. And
Yeah.
like the inlay, the wood, it's all one of a kind and it's gorgeous.
And that's Black
one day.
Limba. One day.
One day.
Black Limba on the top. That's this wood. And then it has Pacific Yew is the orange wood in the middle. Ebony fingerboard. And I even do a wood brand.
For your
I don't know if you
headstocks.
can
Yeah.
see it
Yeah.
on the headstock. It says Hank Bud, and it's
Guitars.
actually in the font of a cattle brand,
Amazing.
which I find just works really well with this model. I don't do it on all of them, but when I do kind of like a telly style, uh, guitar, obviously, like you could play anything. You could play jazz on this thing, and it's fine. But you kind of my brand. I'm Hank Budd from Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, of
I'm,
course.
I'm, I'm selling country tellies.
You're wearing a whaling hat, dude. Like, come on. It
Yeah,
doesn't.
like I just had to embrace who I was.
Right
I'm not.
on. It's gorgeous, man. So can you tell me a little bit? I'm gonna bring it back to the interview screen, but can you tell me a little bit about ukulele builds and sort of the supports in an acoustic guitar and how much more difficult, or maybe not, that is to make an acoustic guitar rather than an electric guitar?
Yeah, sure. Let me just put this back up.
Yeah, for sure, man. Those are all amazing. And like, so everyone, it's hankbudguitars.com. I have put it in the chat, and we will make sure that it is in the description in the YouTube video if you want to check out. I'm sure all these are going to be posted there, and you can get commissions there as well. But yeah, onward about acoustic guitars. How much more difficult is that? How much longer does it take? Excuse me. And what are some of the different techniques that you sort of had to learn to do that stuff?
Yeah, so acoustic building is a lot more involved, a lot more handwork, a lot more detail work. And in acoustics, that's where tone wood really makes a big difference. So it's debatable in electric guitars. Like I said, it's your electronics, it's your hardware that's going to do the main thing. With acoustics, there is a big play in your tone woods. And that was another one of the things which was really good. And I would actually recommend this to anyone who is wants to get into acoustic building, is build a bunch of ukuleles. The biggest problem with getting good at acoustic building, and I became okay, I can build a decent acoustic guitar, but the reason I went with electrics is I can build a really good high-end
Well,
electric and
you
I can build an okay acoustic.
Right. So
You know,
you came from
so
carving and like woodworking with hard, solid pieces from the clarinet world, right? You said you're on a lathe for 7 years. So you have
yeah.
a heck of a knack for like carving and making. So the shape and the acoustic or so the electric guitar is a little bit more up your history of what your tool and your sort of skills. Whereas that's why I ask you this question is because I feel like the acoustic guitar is quite a bit different. A lot more framing, a lot more bending wood, and like thinner pieces. So yeah, explain. Keep going. I just wanted to mention that I feel like that's
Yeah.
why your sort of knack is towards the electric. It's way more
Yeah.
up your alley, right?
Yeah, especially with my production background, you using machinery, machining things, fabricating, basically.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing with guitar building is like you're basically fabricating all the parts, right? And with acoustics, you have to do everything, right? So it is way more time intensive, and how you brace the guitar, there's so many things that you learn, like you were saying, like these are very thin pieces of wood. Like a top of a guitar is like maybe 2.5 millimeters, 3 millimeters thick, and taking off like a fraction of a millimeter can change the sound
Oh yeah.
dramatically. And
Heck yeah.
like if you want to bring more bass out of the top, you can kind of tune a top by sanding certain areas. And there are modern ways. Here's the funny thing that I learned was, when being around people like that are very good acoustic builders, and you see the level that they work at, you can use resonance tools to kind of gauge what kind of sound you're getting out of your top. But
Okay.
I've seen master builders just be able to tap a top of wood and be able to get the same results
Wow.
than they can with a machine. Yeah,
That
it's
is that's a really good set of ears. So you don't you not play guitar? I mean, do you play a little guitar, like your campfire guy? Like, how does that work for you? As I understood it, you
Yeah,
don't really play very much.
I don't. Yeah, like my background really isn't in that. I was joking the other day. I was like, yeah, it's like being a race car driver who doesn't have a license and takes the bus everywhere. Like it's people kind of expect. I'm like, no, dude, I am not much of a guitar player.
Well,
Like,
I mean,
but
to be a great luthier, how do you have time to be a great guitar player at the same time? That's like, you can do one or the
yeah,
other, right?
yeah, I build clarinets. I don't even play the clarinet. I'm a very good woodworker and I
Yeah,
have very good attention to detail.
of
And that's
course. We can see
why
that.
I kept falling into that type of work. Like I never, it's like it's the life chose me, man. I
Right.
never chose it.
Very cool though.
And
And so how do you
yeah,
feel about what you're doing now? Do you really enjoy this? Is this kind of your full-time gig or almost, or where do you see this taking you in the future?
well, it's been very strange because I didn't approach it as somebody who is like, I have a dream of being a guitar builder. You know what I mean? It was, it just happened organically. And I'm an artist. That's kind of my background was actually, I'm a, illustration
Oh, wow.
and animation was my background. And which is very strange. Like I've had a lot of random jobs and different things. But
That's why you're such an
my
interesting
back,
guy, though, right? That's where you bring all these different skills together, and now you actually like. I don't know if you drew that skull yourself, but then you also figured out how to make it and do like a lining with ebony around the outside and inlay the whole thing. Like you're sort of parlaying all your skills into this thing that has now become, I think, your new thing, dude. It's very cool what you're doing.
yeah, well, that's kind of how I approach it. So I went to school for 3D animation,
Okay.
and so that's when I was started doing ukuleles. It kind of I started treating them like three-dimensional props. Like I was kind of thinking about them like what kind of shape would look good for a cartoon character to play and things like that. And once I started seeing them in the same way that I would have modeled a prop, it became very interesting to me that I could like, oh, I can just fabricate it in real life, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And and then when I started doing the electric guitars, it like I was drawing the shapes, I was drawing it out and illustrating it, and then it was I started, it was very strange. I started drawing like the kind of characters that I could see playing my guitars
Oh, wow.
and stuff like that. And just kind of like, oh, because like a guitar for an artist, like, it's a performance piece as well,
Oh, yeah.
and, when you're on stage, it's kind of a persona, and your guitar that you have is an extension of your persona when you're on
100%.
stage.
Yeah, that black acoustic guitar that Johnny Cash plays is very definitive of Johnny Cash. He's going to have a black gloss acoustic guitar.
Yeah, and that's what I started thinking about my designs. Is like what kind of artist would like what would fit with that artist to have like this guitar as an extension of their persona. So I started thinking about it in the same way that when you design a character for like a story, it's just an extension of them, like their outfit, their guitar and stuff. So I started approaching it kind of like that, like a story. And then it kind of became, we were doing that on my stream as kind of a game, is I would finish a ukulele and be like, well, what's the story here?
Right.
And then we would come up with like a story with the ukulele, and then I'd draw like a character with it and stuff like that.
Oh
And
man, that's
it
very
was,
cool. You have a
yeah,
you have an aura of like you could be a primary school teacher. Like Fred Penner, right? You know who Fred Penner is?
yeah,
You're very
yeah,
Fred.
yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Fred
like
Penner.
you
Yeah,
crawl out from a log and you bring a guitar and you're like, "Hey children, let's sing a song about the alphabet."
yeah,
You're just such
yeah.
a lovable
Well,
guy,
that's
man. You're a lovable dude.
I when I started, actually funny you should mention that, before I started streaming is when the Oh, what was the Mr. Rogers film came
Oh,
out
wow. That was
with
heart
Tom Hanks.
wrenching. Oh, the film.
Yeah, the film and the documentary came out at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, so I watched the documentary and then I watched the film. So I think I was kind of in that Mr. Rogers mindset
Right.
because it's like I never really like when you kind of get what he was trying to do with his show, like just a pleasant place. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I started streaming, like as a streamer, like it's your space,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
you're inviting people into your space. So it was really good that I kind of watched that. Not that I'm like a goody goody children's entertainer, but I like to keep it accessible to everyone.
Yeah. It's very family
But I
friendly.
don't think that this is how I act all the time. I
Yeah.
just don't do it
Yeah. So,
on camera.
yeah. So you have a family friendly stream. So, like, if any kids are out there who are interested in, if you have kids out there interested in woodworking or they're down to be in the shop, like, this is a great stream to tune into. They don't have to always watch Fortnite. You can bring them over to Hank's stream, or we've had Rhino Lion on too, the Potter, and we've had
Yeah.
the Stream Scribe on. So I just want to mention to the group who are on YouTube, Twitch people who are watching, you already know, but there's a great group of creators out there that you can go and kids can watch and learn things, and they can ask Hank, hey, why are you putting that brace in there, or what is the point of that hole, etc., etc.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think for me, I don't know if I think children are watching my stream, but it's more that parents and people have told me, my viewers have said, "Oh yeah, I like that I can have your stream on and I don't have to worry
Right.
about it. It can just be on in the home."
Right.
And so the kids are just seeing it as a thing.
As a
It's
result
just
of
another
the
thing.
parents. Yeah, yeah.
But funny you should mention Rhino. Did you see the bust that he made?
I did. And
Me?
not of
Yeah.
you. Oh my goodness. That's what it was. I saw it when you got up before we started the show. Oh my
So
goodness.
Rhino, speaking of ukuleles and Rhino Lion,
Full circle. He was like one of the first episodes. But yeah, go on. Sorry.
Oh, really? Yeah. So one night we raided. I'll just
That's amazing.
Yeah. So Rhino was. I'll explain the story. Rhino was doing sculpture that night. Normally he's doing
Potting,
pottery,
yeah,
but
yeah.
he decided to do sculpture.
Yeah. So for a few, I saw that. And he did a woman's bust too that was amazing. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah, so we went in there and raided him, and then I was like, "Hey, Rhino, I'm writing a manifesto, and I really need a bus to go with it." And we were just kind of joking that I needed this bus to go with my manifesto,
Okay.
so that they would take me more seriously as a dictator. And he was like jokingly was like, "Yeah, sure, Hank, I'll do it for a ukulele." And then I get a message a few days later. He's like, "Let's do it." And he's like, "I've never done portraiture before." And so I was like, "Sure, I'm down if you are." And so he was like, "Well, let me do a portraiture, and if it works out and I can get it to you, okay, then we'll do a ukulele." And so he did just a ridiculous job. Like
That's so well
it's
done.
so ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just so ridiculous. But that's the thing. He had never done it before, and I think it's kind of nice when there's no pressure, when it's just kind of a joke. He would, you're able to just kind of like whatever
Be
happens.
free.
happens.
And yeah, that's an artist thing. You can just let go.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I see Twitch is like it's. I don't know if it's really like an art scene, but it's definitely like you're amongst your peers.
Yeah.
And even if it's like, luthiers and woodworkers and potters, we're all kind of sharing the same space and watching each other and kind of inspiring each other.
And we just
doing
understand.
things.
If you do this, you understand this, right? Like, so Rhino now understands how hard it is to get the camera going and the sound good, and there's tools going and all this stuff, and trying to make it all one thing. You just become a community based on that, trying to produce a good show.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, like you're saying, like you just mentioned Rhino, and that's like one of the guys that I gravitated towards when I started streaming, like just feeling out the space.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always funny who you just find your people.
Yeah,
You
man.
find your people.
Yeah.
And it was just like immediately, like I was just like, oh, I really like this guy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like,
me too.
Just,
I'm the same way.
you know, And here, let me show you the ukulele I made
Yes,
for
please. I would
Rhino.
love
I
to.
still have. I'm.
Oh,
Here, this one
he's
will
digging
grab
deep
it.
within the shelves.
Digging deep.
Here he
I just.
Whoa, it's
I
a
really got to
baritone?
get this to him.
Is it a
So,
baritone?
what?
Is that a baritone?
It's a baritone.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, it almost is the size of a guitar.
I know this is a really big baritone. So, what happened was
Whoa, dude, that is...
originally this was supposed to be a tenor guitar,
Okay.
a 4-string tenor guitar, but I just couldn't get it to intonate in the way that I wanted it to. And basically, but I was like, it didn't quite work as a tenor guitar. Maybe I'll just convert it back into a baritone, because I was showing this wood to Rhino, and Rhino was like, "Oh, I really like that. This is Bastogne walnut."
Oh, wow.
So this is an interesting hybrid walnut between English walnut and Claro walnut from California. So this is really neat. If you're into walnut like I am. So when the Europeans moved to California, they brought walnut trees for nuts, right? So they were planting walnut trees in California to harvest the nuts. They naturally pollinated some of the local walnut trees, which are Claro walnut,
Yep.
and created, this is a naturally occurring hybrid.
Oh,
And so
wow.
then these new trees started showing up, and it's like, that's best.
It almost looks like a flamed or walnut, right? Like it looks like it's been flamed.
Yeah, it's very similar. Like it just has kind of aesthetics of both English and Claro. But anyway, that's what it is. And then I have this black walnut strip down the middle, black walnut neck, and a Sitka spruce top with a torrefied maple fingerboard as well. And then I did a floating bridge on it,
Yeah.
just to get it looking more retro-y. I had been doing some gypsy jazz guitars at the time. And so I was like, I want to do a floating bridge like a gypsy jazz. So it's
Yeah.
kind of a really neat piece. And it's, again, I had almost abandoned this thing because I built it, and it's a really nice acoustic. It's probably one of my best acoustic builds.
It's gorgeous.
But it just didn't work. And then it was just sitting there. And then, just one of those things. Rhino was like, I really want a ukulele. And I'm like, well, I could build you one, but this one has all the things you want. Why don't I just retrofit this into
what you need?
and
Yeah.
So I'm actually super happy that this is, it became an instrument. It eventually became what it was supposed to be, like an
Exactly.
instrument that somebody will play. So get ready for when you raid into Rhino stream. It won't just be didgeridoo anymore.
It'll be- yeah,
It's a
it'll be-
ukulele streamer now.
Okay, now I have a question. I mean, we're talking about Rhino for the whole show. This is wild, but would you be able to make a full wooden didgeridoo? Like, because you're a lathe worker, I guess you could, sort of, almost.
I could.
Even
I haven't
horned
done
out?
any woodwinds in like a decade.
Yeah, no, I'm
like,
just
I know
curious.
the process.
Yeah, I'm curious.
But
So
it's-
ultimately, you could. You have the skills
could.
to do such. Yeah, very cool, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
You know, what's funny about clarinet making is you actually, because of the dense woods, you're actually using a lot of gunsmithing tools.
Really?
Like for doing the board, you're doing using a gun drill and
For
and
steel,
stuff like
basically,
that.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, you use that. Actually, that's how I got into the clarinets. Was actually I had metalworking experience.
Okay.
And
You're a
so it's
jack
just-
of all trades, sir.
Yeah, I spent some time in a metal shop in Alberta for a little while. So it's like I've done a lot of different things.
Nice,
so,
man. It's crazy. Okay, dude.
Yeah.
So when it comes to woods because we were talking about tone woods and acoustics. So
Mm-hmm.
for that kind of stuff, I mean, you live in BC. How do you get for all guitars or ukuleles? How do you get your wood, and what sort of drives you to pick a certain piece of wood?
Well, luckily here in BC, we have all the top woods.
Many mills.
All the woods that, so the top of the guitar is a softwood.
Okay.
This is Sitka spruce. This is local. We have Sitka spruce, Engelmann spruce, red cedar, yellow cypress. We have most of all the top woods, like everything you see on like Yamaha, Taylor, all that stuff. It's all coming
Canada.
from here.
Okay, so
Yeah, it's all Canadian.
And so and so what about the hardwoods?
The hardwood, so I really like, if you see on a lot of my guitars, I'm using a lot of black walnut. It is Canadian, but it's actually coming out from your neck of the woods out east is where most of our black walnut comes from. And I use Western or Eastern maple. What's interesting, so out here on the West Coast, we have what's called big leaf maple. And it is a little bit different than the Eastern maple from like Quebec. And I don't know if it's because of the cold weather out east, but the rock maple, that's what Fender uses for all their necks. It is way stronger. It's just hard.
From Quebec it is.
Yeah, from Quebec. Yeah,
okay.
It is.
Yeah, maybe it's the winter.
Quebec, Ontario, but most of it's harvested from Quebec.
And because it's you suspect that it's because of winters and because it's growing in rock, they call it rock maple. Like that's a lot of Canadian.
No, they
shield.
call it rock maple because it's just so hard.
Okay.
And I think it's definitely climate because of that mixture of, like, that really extreme cold winter, but then the hot, humid summers. Like it just
same as maple syrup.
To the wood.
Same as maple syrup, right? Like with those changes in the spring really draws the sap out. So I wonder if it's just coming from those exact trees.
Yeah, I wonder if that is something because there is something to how the sap is in the wood.
They dry harder, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something. So there's this. Have you ever heard the term moon spruce?
I have not.
So I don't know if this is just luthier voodoo.
Folklore, yeah.
It is best to harvest the spruce under the full moon because there is, for some reason, less sap in the wood.
So that's got to be it then. The combination of maple syrup tapping or the sap running out of the tree quicker because of those changes in the spring will make that wood harder, right? So that's very interesting. I think we just figured something out, unless you already knew that.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It's like conditions that the wood grows in can really make a big difference. So out here, like I was saying, we have Western maple or big leaf maple, and it's still a maple tree, but it is not as hard. It is still works fine for necks. It's very good. It's a really good wood. It tends to be more figured, but it's more yellow, whereas the rock maple tends to be more white.
Okay.
And again, it's sap, not as dense.
Likely just sap again for the color, right? I mean, it sounds like it to me, if I was to guess.
Yeah, it is. It just, I'm not going to say, I'm just giving you the facts here.
Yeah. I'm just trying to guess. I don't know what I'm talking about either. But so what is the most exotic piece of wood you've ever used to make a guitar so far?
Probably the Padauk, that Padauk bodied one right there.
On the back of, okay, yeah.
That was an exceptional, because again, most of the time I'm using maple, mahogany, walnut, not really crazy woods. Padauk was definitely a challenge to work with because it's very dense. And so I had to do a lot of, I had to cut out a lot of material, but I also had to be very careful about how I was cutting it out and having to be very careful because when woods are very dense and you slice them, just the act of the tension being released in the cut can cause the wood to crack.
Right.
So even if it's dried out and stuff, like you can still get hairline cracks. So I was really worried with that Padauk. And so when I was chambering it, I was doing very shallow passes. I used a fresh bit. And even then, when I was cutting out the body, I found that the router was just
banging
struggling.
Around. Yeah,
it was struggling a little too much. So I actually ended up cutting the shape out on the bandsaw and then sanding it into shape on a spindle sander because it was just a lot safer. And I just did not want anything to go wrong with that.
So what is the now I've asked you what's your most exotic piece you've done, but what is in your mind, what is the most exotic piece you would like to do of wood? Like what was your dream? If you could pick any piece of wood from around the world, what would it be?
I saw this one piece. They called it Vietnamese rosewood, I think.
Okay.
And it looked like a painting. It was such insane figure. There was a builder named Barlow Guitars. He does the craziest builds with just the craziest wood. And I was like, what is that stuff? And here's the thing about doing exotic woods is there's kind of the ethical factor.
Yeah,
Is that
totally.
this Vietnamese rosewood? I don't know how Barlow got it, but I'm sure it was above board. Like I'm not
Some
saying
stuff if you got pre 1970, right? Like even
yeah. Like he lucked out. He got a piece, but that stuff is endangered, and
Yeah.
you cannot get it.
Cut it down
And
anymore.
somehow he got it legally. He got it. I'm not,
Well, just to explain to the audience, like the same goes for other. Is it Indian rosewood or is it just normal rosewood? Like you're not allowed to cut them down anymore. So my drummer, he builds drums. They have a stock that his dad has had from before it was illegal to cut it down. So it's like you can still get a piece that's been around for 40, 50 years, but you cannot cut any new pieces down.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Indian rosewood, we can still get fingerboards. So a few years ago, they banned the import of Indian rosewood. But that was because luthiers use such small pieces that we were exempt from that.
Oh, okay.
But there's a big issue with exporting. And it's best just to not use it. So if a client wants rosewood domestically, no problem. I'm a little more hesitant to use rosewood if I'm going to be sending that guitar
over borders.
Yeah, to the States. It's like you can declare it and you just have to do some paperwork, but I would not do it if it was going to Europe. Yeah. Europe is far more strict. Germany is very, very strict for certain woods. So it's best. There's alternatives now. Maple is fine. I've been using, there is a material called Richlite is from Washington State, which is recycled resin and wood dust.
Oh, wow. That's cool too. You could throw some LEDs in that one.
It's an interesting product. I've used it and it works fine. If you want black, if you don't want to, I'll do Richlite or I'll do real ebony again. Or Wenge is a good alternative. It's nice to have a dark fingerboard sometimes. But yeah, so that's one of the things with exotic woods is there's some really beautiful woods in the world, and there's not very
many trees
it's
left,
getting harder and harder to get those. So when I was doing clarinets, we were doing a lot with Cocobolo, which is now under pretty extreme restrictions as far as exporting goes, and we stockpiled before. Like I don't know how they're doing now, but that was like 10 years ago. But we stockpiled enough for years, and it's a beautiful wood. Cocobolo is just absolutely beautiful. And
seen it on some of those Taylor guitars have them, eh? It's the Cocobolo. They do the Taylor Big Mini or whatever it is, that small guitar. They do it in a Cocobolo.
Yeah,
actually.
the GS Mini.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's beautiful because it has the bright yellow sapwood and then the black streaks and then the orange.
The contrast is all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, so I worked a lot with Cocobolo. That was one of my main things. I wasn't allergic, but there were people who were. That's another thing to keep in mind with some of these exotic woods is you don't know how you're going to react to them. So you have to be very careful with some of those woods.
So for Hank Budd guitars, you're going to stick to your favorite, and then they look beautiful. One of your favorites is the black walnut, and then you'll do flamed maples, different maples from around Canada, all very sustainable stuff. And then if you have a couple pieces of the exotic stuff around, you can use it for inlays and little pieces around in the guitars. Is that how you're sort of envisioning this?
Yeah. Like I really like different walnuts. Luckily in North America, like we
Yeah.
have so much really nice woods. Um, there's especially for tops, like you can't really go wrong with like a nice figured maple, but I like using really figured walnut. I'll show you one guitar that I made over here.
Yeah, let's do that. Let me give you a full screen for this to explain this one, Hank, so you can see the whole
Okay.
thing. All right, 1 second here.
Okay.
Performance time. Beauties. Look at that thing.
So this one is all Canadian wood, and this one is a really interesting piece. So it's the top is English walnut that was harvested here in BC. So and then there's a maple strip right there, black walnut body, one piece black walnut, which you can see why I really like doing
one
black
piece
walnut.
and one piece.
Well, yeah,
too,
like
right?
just one piece black walnut body.
Gorgeous.
It looks great.
Yeah.
And then the neck. So this is black walnut. And this is what's a thing that's kind of unique with black walnut. So you see there's the sapwood running through there.
Yeah.
That's not laminated. Like that's just natural. That's just a natural piece.
Whoa.
I can get away with this with black walnut. So normally on a lot of wood, the sapwood tends to be soft, softer than the heartwood. On black walnut, you have pretty much the same consistency between
that's
the
true.
sapwood. So this is quarter sawn, so you can see the grain is running straight. So this is ideal for a neck.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah, so that's one of the advantages that it's like, oh, that's just a neat feature.
So
And
like
then-
even though if you don't get exotic woods, you can find exotic pieces of sustainable wood is what you're looking at, basically.
Yeah, it's this was just an interesting piece. I don't know. We just found this piece. Yeah, I remember where we got this. So we got a big billet of black walnut because we can get just giant billets of black walnut, right?
Yeah.
And it had some of the sapwood on the side. So you see, I kind of incorporated it into this one as well. So it was just an exceptional piece. And like when you kind of know what you're looking for, you can kind of see it's like, oh, I might be able to use that. But you don't know until you carve it. Like
Right.
I knew it would have a streak through it, but I was actually kind of annoyed at first because it's too perfect down the center. So now it looks like I just laminated
Yeah.
two pieces and it doesn't
No.
look natural.
No, it's
The
natural.
whole point was it's supposed to be natural.
No, it
So-
looks great, dude. That's tremendous. Well, dude, it was a pleasure to talk to you today. I'm like so fascinated, and I would love to get you back on again to like talk a little bit more about guitars and just a little bit how you got, how do you understand the scales? Do you just have, all of that stuff? There's so much that goes into this, but I mean, I try to keep these shows to about an hour long just because attention spans are tough these days. Unless it's a Twitch stream, they'll hang with you for a couple hours, but for videos and stuff. So just one more time, your website is getting updated for commissions and just you're going to get the commerce stuff going and everything is sort of all above board now. You're ready to sell some guitars.
Yep. Yeah. And all the guitars behind me are for sale. So
Awesome.
if anybody's interested in any of it, shoot me a message.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I'm very stoked. Thank you for being here. I'm just going to bring it back over to the interview page here, just to both of us. And, yeah, I just want to say, like, you do tremendous work. You have a wonderfully soft-spoken aura to you, like I said, that is very inviting. Similar to the way you feel about Rhino, I feel about your stream. It's just fun and awesome and joyous. And so I want to thank you for that. And, dude, you're an artist. You're an artist at heart. You're also you can work with your hands like a pro. So I'm just really glad that you parlayed all of this stuff together into this new venture. And I wish the best for Hank Bug Guitars, man. You really have done it, dude.
Oh, thanks. I really appreciate that, having me on. And I also appreciate your work too. Like, when I was saying, like, there's just certain people you gravitate towards. And it was just like, oh, here's Kev. It was Megan.
Oh,
Megan
yeah.
Roya.
Right.
That's who I named this guitar, the Roya.
Yeah,
And she was the one who found yours. And
Oh,
she was
right
like,
on.
oh, you got to check out Kev and rate him.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of like interconnected.
100%, man. What a community. And I'm so grateful
Yeah.
for that. So thank you, Megan. She's in the chat. And actually, when you mentioned that you called it the Roya, I was like, oh, that's definitely named after Megan. So very cool. And if anybody doesn't know, Megan is on Twitch. I believe is she a moderator for you?
Yeah, she's my
Yeah,
mother.
so big love to all the moderators out there. If you don't know what that is, I mean, come on, join us on Twitch. It's a great community. So, dude, I'm just gonna close the show out. So I'll let you go and have your evening. And thank you so much for doing this and getting he had to get the shop with no one else in it, or there'd be buzzsaws going on everywhere.
Yeah, we had a nice quiet day.
This was great,
today,
man.
So,
And I look forward to checking out your website, and I'll have all the links for all of your stuff in the YouTube video and in chat. They are in chat right now. Kaboom! I hit a magic button there. So, thanks, man. I'll let you go.
I also hope someday you make it out here as well.
Oh, I will. Yeah, I will. I'm not sure I'm going to make it over the highest pass in the Rockies, but I am going to Salmo and Nelson area, I think, in the fall.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if I'll make it all the way to Vancouver, but I will be out that way. So we'll see. We'll stay in touch for sure over the next few months, and I'll see if I can't make it. Maybe I'll fly in there and then just drive backwards. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. We'll stay in touch then, man. Thank you so much, dude. And I look forward to catching a stream soon, and I'll talk to you very soon, okay?
Okay. We'll see you again.
Take care, brother. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Hey now, don't dream it's over. Hey now, when the world comes in. And what a great song, huh? Hank Budd, what a good interview. This guy is a talented fellow. If you guys, actually, you can see my telly over there. His very first telly, his very first Hank Budd guitar looks a lot like my telly. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, that's a nice one for the first one. Sky Crane, thank you for watching. Thank you for the sub. If anybody is watching this on YouTube, we have a great community. We talked about it all, the whole show, but we do this live on Twitch, and everyone on Twitch is so lovely. We have moderators here taking care of my chat. We have Hank's moderators here. We have people that are subscribing and supporting us. I am ever so grateful. Excuse me while I sip my water. We do this every Monday live on Twitch, so thank you guys for being here today. I know there's not a lot of chat interaction, but basically what I'm trying to do is learn about the guy as I'm asking him questions and listen to him. If you want to watch the rerun of this show, it's always on YouTube. This will be out in a couple weeks, and I can't wait for Hank to have his store fully functional and running, but all the guitars are for sale. Please, if I could sell a guitar for him, if I could get a little guitar sale for him out of this show, I would be super thrilled. Because I could use that to like parlay into, a commission, or maybe that honky tonk bowl guitar that I love. Just kidding, brother. I love you so much, Hank. Thank you for doing that with us today. Everybody else out there, hit the like, hit the subscribe, follow on everything. I don't know what else to say anymore. Everybody, all these YouTubers and Twitchers do the same thing. Whatever they would say, that's what I would say. My favorite thing to say, though, is until next time, keep it between the mustard and the mayonnaise.